28 days remain until the American people decide who will sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office, Vice President Kamala Harris or the deranged, convicted criminal, the insurrectionist, Donald Trump. This is the warning. Yesterday, Donald Trump told us again and again and again who he was. Donald Trump had several warnings for the country. He warned about people with bad genes coming into America. Bad genes.
How about allowing people to come through an open border, 13,000 of which were murderers? Many of them murdered far more than one person, and they're now happily living in the United States. You know, now a murderer, I believe this, it's in their genes, and we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now.
When you talk about genetics and you apply dispositions against that genetics to people on the basis of their race and their creed or their religion, there's a word for it. It's called eugenics. Eugenics, the belief that genetically some human beings are superior to others. It's extremely important to understand what eugenics is and who believes in eugenics and why it may be a word that you're completely unfamiliar with. Because in 1940, everybody understood eugenics. It was widely and commonly accepted as scientific theory. Tucker Carlson, more than any other American, and we'll talk about him in a minute, is responsible for introducing this concept back into the body politic, into the mainstream. And it's attached to another theory, replacement theory. Replacement theory holds that there is a plot to import all of these people, lesser humans, genetically speaking, people who aren't as intelligent, aren't as strong, aren't full, complete human beings, a bit less than. Maybe the types of people that eat pets, golden retrievers and the like, in small towns filled with genetically pure Americans, like in Springfield, Ohio. All of this nonsense comes from an essay written by a French nobleman named Arthur de Gobineau in 1850. His essay was called The Inequality of the Races. It was about genetics. His paper was the first use of the word Aryan. Aryans, he held, some mythical group of humans, were the highest form of human. And beneath that, in order, descending, were all the other groups, all of the other races, ending at the bottom of the barrel, the lowest of the low, the blacks. Now, Adolf Hitler took the theory and he twisted it a little bit. De Gobineau said the Jews were a smart and clever race. He had no particular hate for them, not like Hitler. He certainly didn't rank them at the bottom of the human list, genetically speaking. But it was Hitler, using de Gobineau's theories, who targeted the Jews. There were laws passed about blood purity, marriage laws, miscegenation laws, all of this based on the science of eugenics. The idea that some people's blood is better, more pure, and that there are lesser people, subhumans, if you will. The German word was Untermenschen, subhuman. This is an evil. It is awful. And it's what Trump is talking about with Hugh Hewitt, a formerly respected conservative who during the 2012 presidential campaign was asking questions about what the size of the United States Navy should be. Should it be 520 ships or 480 or 385? Hugh Hewitt's gone on quite a journey since 2012. He's now interviewing somebody without objection who's engaging in the words and the language of Adolf Hitler. Astonishing. Now, speaking of the Jewish people, October 7th is the anniversary of the Hamas pogrom, which killed thousands, led to the kidnapping of hundreds. After his rally yesterday commemorating the event, Donald Trump played the village people.
And I'm sure you will find many ways to have a good time. It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
And he told Hugh Hewitt, in fact, it is Trump who has been the greatest leader ever for the Jewish people.
I think Israel has to do one thing. They have to get smart about Trump. because they don't back me. I did more for Israel than anybody. I did more for the Jewish people than anybody. And it's not a reciprocal, as I say.
Does Hugh Hewitt blink? Does he show some revulsion at the nonsense? Does he have any connection whatsoever to the dead, to the time, the space around him? Any connection to the context of the moment, as Trump is saying what he's saying?
I think your numbers are rising with Jewish Americans. They may not say it out loud, but I think they're rising, Mr. President.
100%, and I'll never hit that, but we should have 100%. But it's been an honor talking to you. You're a real professional.
It is incredible. Donald Trump, every day, is embracing the language of violence, the language of Hitlerism. It gets darker by the hour. Here he is with Laura Ingraham, a cruel, fascistic woman, an election denier, and a conspiracy theorist who is trying to coach him through his revenge fantasies on a town hall stage on Fox News.
How will you restore faith in our justice system? A lot of people will say, well, he's just going to do to them what they did to him and get back at them. And
a lot of people say that's what should happen.
Well,
you want to know the truth.
Right. Well, but I think, you know, punitively using government institutions is what got us in this mess in the first place. And our town hall that we did back in February, one of the lines that really resonated, I think, with people is when you said, my revenge is going to be my success.
Yeah, well, I do believe that. But I will say this. They have started a terrible precedent. We've never had this. We do have that in third world countries, banana republics, a lot in South America where they go after somebody politically that's an opponent. We never had it to any great extent, really almost at all.
But you're not going to do that. When you get in office, you're going to look at all your political enemies.
No, I want to make this the most successful country in the world. That's what I want to do.
Laura Ingraham is like a mom trying to push a toddler on a bike with training wheels for the first time. She's trying to guide Donald Trump 28 days out from an election that he's losing to say that he will not abuse the power of government to lock up his political opponents, to take revenge, which he's promised over and over and over and over again. He wants retribution. And do you know what? So does his crowd. Listen to them.
A lot of people say that's what should happen.
Well,
you want to know the truth.
Right. Well, but I think.
They are cheerleading for civil war. It's what they're doing, and it's plain as day. Donald Trump is harmless alone, but is the head of a political movement that's fascistic in character. He will become, like every other fascist that has ever been, deadly. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. What that makes him is rich, not decent, not insightful, not a genius, and certainly not a patriot.
Nobody's even bothering to try to kill Kamala because it's pointless. What do you achieve? Nothing.
No, it's totally
Just find
right.
another puppet.
Exactly. That's
It's no point in killing.
it's deep and true, though.
Nobody's trying to kill Joe Biden.
It's in,
It would be
bless you.
pointless.
Totally.
This conversation should frighten you. It's sick. Elon Musk has associated himself with something called dark Maga, which calls for the violent overthrow of the country, its government, and the installation of Trump as dictator. Does Musk think it's funny? Does he think it's ironic? Elon Musk went to Auschwitz. In fact, we had the same guide. The same man took us both around, and I asked that man a question that day. He said, did Elon Musk get anything out of the experience? He looked at me, and the look said it all. The answer was no, he didn't, which is why he's sitting with an anti-Semite, a man who brought back replacement theory, who brought back eugenics, who brought it all back into the mainstream. The theories and the dogmas that by the middle of the 20th century had killed 100 million people are now spoken of every day in common language, in plain English, as part of an American presidential race. If that doesn't outrage you, you don't have the capacity to be outraged. There was a trial and a sentencing of Tina Peters, an election official in Arizona who tried to overthrow the government. The judge here gets it. And I want you to listen to every single word he says, because every single word he says could be said, should be said, and must be said in regard to Donald Trump.
You are a privileged person. You are as privileged as they come. And you use that privilege to obtain power, a following, and fame. And to be sure, there's no doubt in my mind that it's exactly what you wanted, and it defies all sense of common sense to believe when you suggested to me a few moments ago that you didn't want this attention. No, you crave it, ma'am. And there is no one in this courtroom who would consider that to be anything other than the absolute truth. There are many things in my mind that are crystal clear about this case. You are no hero, you abused your position, and you're a charlatan who used and is still using your prior position in office to peddle a snake oil that's been proven to be junk time and time again. In your world, it's all about you.
These two people, Trump and Tina Peters, are the same person. They are of the same movement, the same cause, the cause of destroying America in the name of saving it. The man who is the successor of Abraham Lincoln as the nominee for the Republican Party for the office of president is a fascist who speaks the language of Hitler, who threatens to destroy our liberty and freedom. When the next Hitler comes, wherever he may be, whatever country he may rise in, he will not be wearing the brown uniforms, the high boots, goose-stepping through torchlight parades. It will present itself in a new way. Maybe 80 years later, it will present itself like this on a stage in Butler, Pennsylvania. Two fascists, one jumping for joy. Joy for what? Power and money and the thrill of taking from you everything and anything that should matter, starting with your freedom and your liberties as an American, which is not just your birthright, but the greatest inheritance that any group of people have ever been passed down from another. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.